very warm welcome to the first edition of the Times Network Make in India Summit, presented by Hindustan Unilever Limited and powered by Union Bank of India. I'd like to open this forum with a quote by our Honorable Prime Minister on his ambitious Make in India initiative, and I quote, "Make in India is a lion's step. This initiative, on one hand, will increase manufacturing growth and at the same time will directly benefit the youth of the nation in the form of employment." As you may know, the government's ambitious Make in India initiative turned 2 on 25th September. In FY16, India saw a record FDI flows to the tune of $55 billion, a testimony to India's potential as an investment destination. Now, while a good beginning has been made, we believe that there is still a lot of ground to be covered to make India a manufacturing powerhouse. And in a bid to give a fresh impetus to this mission, we are hosting the first Make in India Summit, a platform to discuss and deliberate on various subjects pertaining to this novel endeavor. I would now like to invite the executive editor of ET Now, Sandeep Gurumurthy, for the opening address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this inaugural Make in India Summit. I think I'd like to take you back to a little over 2 years ago when the Prime Minister launched this ambitious, and one would have to say probably flagship program of the government. And I have to admit today that back then, it was met with some amount of skepticism as people feared that this might be yet another grandiose announcement that we've been so used to over the years and decades, if I may say so. But if you look at what's happened over the last 2 years, one will have to concede that this government has walked the talk when it comes to making in India. Specifically on 3 counts, it's really opened up foreign investment across various sectors, make it a lot easier for foreign companies to invest in India, and it's made an earnest attempt at improving the ease of doing business, something that corporate India now acknowledges pretty openly. The other key facet which I think doesn't get highlighted enough in the media is thanks to this program, the government has managed to foster a sort of competitive spirit between state governments. A few weeks ago, I was in a similar platform with the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and what struck me was how competitive he was about his state's ranking when it comes to the competitive index of state governments. And I think that's an incredible change that we've seen over the last couple of years, and much of the credit for that must go to the government. The person who's been spearheading all these reforms is, of course, the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, and it is indeed a privilege to have her with us this morning as the keynote speaker. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our chief guest this morning, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. Even as we celebrate what we've achieved over the last 2 years, we can't lose sight of the tough global environment that we are in right now. The slowdown in exports is a trend that's now, we're seeing some signs of reversal, but it is a cause of concern, largely due to global factors which probably are not completely under our control. On the other hand, the other concern that I'd like to flag off is the fact that while the government may have taken the lead when it comes to public investment, we haven't yet seen large Indian corporates put their money where their mouth is. And as a result, we haven't seen the investment cycle sort of kickstart. That remains a cause of concern. And of course, the issue of job creation, which is something that I'm sure everyone here is passionate about. The latest data from the Labour Bureau suggests that that's something that's still work in progress, and I'm sure industry and the government will need to work together and find solutions to create jobs at a sort of massive scale. That's something that we need to work on. I'm certain our chief guest will touch upon some of these points in her keynote address. We've got some of the brightest minds of corporate India in this gathering, and I look forward to hearing their views as well on what needs to be done to kickstart the investment cycle and, of course, to look at large-scale job creation. Before I conclude, I'd like to thank our partners, the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, the Confederation of Indian Industry, HUL, Union Bank, and Bhumi World Industrial Park. Thank you so much for partnering us for this maiden Make in India Summit, and I hope all of you enjoy the day-long deliberations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, Sandeep. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity, again, like Sandeep also did, to thank our very valued industry partner, CII, without which this event would not be possible. I'd like to invite up on stage the president of CII, Dr. Naushad Forbes, to address the audience.
Honorable Minister, leaders of manufacturing, ladies and gentlemen. Make in India, as you know, was launched just over 2 years ago by our Prime Minister. And as we mark 2 years of its inception, I think we can legitimately celebrate its achievements. We have a huge opportunity, and I'm not going to talk about either the need for manufacturing, which is well known, or the opportunity for manufacturing in our country. Well, I thought it might be of some use to talk about where we fit as industry in 6 of the key sectors within which we are focusing on manufacturing. There are, I think, 6 sectors where global supply chains really matter. Textiles and garments, pharmaceuticals, auto and auto components, electronics, hardware, engineering, and even though it's not a manufacturing sector, the IT sector broadly defined. If I start with pharmaceuticals, we have in pharmaceuticals a good presence in global supply chains. We supply a range of intermediates for all the global pharmaceutical majors. What do we need to do to grow our own presence significantly in pharmaceuticals? We have a good R&D presence here and now. We need to focus some on manufacturing quality perhaps, but we need to especially focus on building our brand image in different markets around the world to have the right presence in the public imagination of our main international markets. If we take the textile and garment industry, India was one of the world's great textile and garment countries for many, many centuries, actually. We need to focus in the garment and textile industry on the ease of doing business because of the wafer-thin margins that operate in the industry. We need to focus on building our own brands internationally such that we can grow our presence, and we need to look more and more at how we deepen our design skills within the industry. In auto and auto components, we have a good presence and a growing presence in global supply chains. We need to focus more on R&D. Our R&D intensity in auto and auto components is roughly half what international firms spend. R&D is a percentage of sales. So we need to deepen our R&D investments in technology and innovation as industry in moving up the value chain in the sector. In electronics hardware, we had almost no presence in electronic hardware manufacturing in the country. This has now finally begun, thanks very much to, I think, the government's relentless efforts in attracting major foreign investment players to invest in final electronic assembly in the country. We need to work now on deepening linkages with component suppliers within electronic manufacturing such that over time we build an effective and efficient ecosystem for the entire electronic manufacturing industry in the country. But may I add that 3 years ago, I would not have predicted that we would have the kind of presence that we're starting to see in electronic hardware manufacturing. I felt it was an industry that had bypassed us as a country. We're starting to see that now turn around. In IT, we have a very strong presence in global supply chains. We're indeed the #1 supplier of IT services around the world. But we need to invest very significantly in R&D. The top 10 Indian IT firms compared with the top 10 software firms in China, much the same size. The top 10 software firms in India invest 1% in R&D. The top 10 software firms in China invest 11% in R&D. There's a huge difference there. Yes, there's some difference in the area in which we operate, but if you look at what our software firms are concerned with today, it's all about their own future, their ability to retain their margins as more and more automation takes place in the production of software itself. And their challenge is indeed, how do they sustain growth in the long run in this industry? And I think a focus on R&D is the only way in which this can actually happen. And finally, when it comes to engineering, we have a good presence in engineering. But again, our R&D intensity is about half the global level. We need to, as firms, invest more in R&D, and we need to expand our brand and geographical presence around the world. So looking at these 6 sectors, what would one then conclude? For the government, without question, it needs to be continued relentless focus on the ease of doing business and export facilitation. And the comment that I always make to any industrial audience is that for the first time that I can remember, we have a government that is committed to the ease of doing business and to improving the business climate in the country. And as industry, we need to work with the government to ensure that all those changes that are needed on the ground happen at a granular level, such that each year our business climate is better than it was earlier. The competitive federalism that has been unleashed, but there's much that we need to do in this area, and I think this key focus of the government will have a tremendous benefit in making in India happen. Second, I think brand building in its broadest sense would be a very good area of focus to help Indian industry in establishing the right image around the world. For industry, I think there are three things that we need to do. We need to invest in R&D and technological deepening, especially in those sectors that I mentioned earlier. We need to invest in market development and our overseas presence, especially in those markets that are most attractive for us in our particular sectors. And third, we need to do all those things that will make the Make in India brand stand for quality, stand for innovation, stand for being the world's preferred supplier. I'm confident that with this partnership between government and industry, we will get there. And on behalf of CII, I can only assure you all of our deepest commitment to making this happen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, as our guest of honor. Ma'am, may I request you to please deliver the keynote address.
Namaskar and good morning to this August gathering. It's indeed 2 years since we launched the Make in India initiative. Although it's meant so many things for so many different people, the idea was more to change the mindset which prevails in India, open up newer sectors for private, Indian, and where possible foreign participation, ensure that newer technologies are brought in so that there's greater transparency, efficiency in production, and above all, the larger objective that India should become a manufacturing hub. So if that was what the initiative was for, we moved rapidly on many counts. Rightly, the emphasis are on three things: ease of doing business, trying to open up on all avenues for improving your export performance, and the third one is about trade facilitation, the kind of things that you need to do to bring greater market access to our goods so that we have better performance. If you're talking about ease of doing business, even as we launched the initiative, we started talking with the states because most action happens there. The policy is formed in Delhi, but then it is the states which have to take the initiative and move forward. On the 21+5 sectors, the 26 Make in India sectors, there are nearly 124 short-term and medium and long-term action plans that we've given ourselves. We are working on all of them. And similarly, on the ease of doing business, you are aware, when we spoke with the states, the first set of action to be taken were on 90 different heads. On those 90, the states cooperated with us and they really moved fast. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra was being referred to when Mr. Gurmurthy spoke. every one of the chief ministers have shown that kind of an enthusiasm, I'm glad to say. In fact, there are days when we've had late night calls suddenly from one chief minister saying, what's up? My state's inputs have not even been uploaded in your ease of doing business ranking because it's happening on a real-time, transparent basis. So state chief ministers are today realizing that the greater they are on this game of ease of doing business, the better is that state's projection, the perception about that state, as a result of which investors find it convenient to approach the state to say, well, okay, can we take something forward on a particular sector in which we want to invest? So states have really realized that this is helping them to project their states better. So the 90, then in the second year, after the first set of rankings were done, the 90 moved over, that was set complete, but the second set was even more ambitious. We had more than 340 such identified actions to be taken by the states, and they really are fulfilling all of them, and the next set of ranking is awaited any time sooner. We're also talking about the branding of India, Indian products. I must say that we are soon planning to hold, not that work is not happening on it, but in order that we have all stakeholders give their view on what exactly should be the government's role in promoting the Indian brand and the brand image when you are especially projecting India outside, because that's very important in terms of improving your market and improving your access to the markets, and not just for inviting investments. We plan to hold a day-long deliberation, bringing in people from all over the world who can give ideas on what we need to do more to build India's brand, because on many things that Indian industry have performed, have actually reached a certain level, our image outside for that particular, let's say, sector is not really commensurate with the achievements. So we shall have a consultation on branding India better outside, better inside, and so on. There is India Brand Equity Forum that we have, the IBEF, in my ministry, but we are going to have to revamp it, and we shall be doing some exercise to both look at IBEF and also look at the way in which India's branding exercises will have to be carried in the future. So we are talking about ease of doing business. We are also talking about export-related activities that we need to. For the export facilitation, the trade facilitation agreement that we've signed for goods, we are moving forward in getting trade facilitation for services, which doesn't exist under the WTO. Because India's strength today, whilst we talk about Make in India, we are also talking about India's service sector, which really has made a big mark in the global economy. So we are looking at trade facilitation of goods for which we've already ratified the agreement, which means that a lot of logistics related activities will have to be focused by the government. We have to improve the freight movement from one place, the place of manufacturing, to the place of the port from which it gets exported. Logistics cost will have to be cut down. We are planning to have logistics hubs built nearer to the ports, each of the port major and the minor, where it is important to have logistics hubs. We are very conscious that the cost which is getting added on to ex-factory prices of goods is really something which we can avoid. The scale is really mounting. We need to cut it down. And that is one of the reasons why we often have this discussion in the cabinet also about building and strengthening Indian waterways, Indian inland waterways, and for which the government has got a blueprint. They're working on it. We are talking with the rail ministry also to see how freight costs can be brought down till then. So whether it is your road transport, whether it's your rail, whether it is newly strengthening inland waterways, the logistics aspect of our export promotion is something on which we are spending a lot of time. We shall be working on it. Job creation, as rightly pointed out, is an issue on which we are all working. The eBIS portal has been created. 14 government services are all available on it. We are fast moving towards a paperless system of due diligence, which needs to be followed by most of the industries. We are ensuring that we don't insist on paper filing of returns or paper filing of any kind of registration requirements. State governments are also on board on this. So digitization is an active component in which the government is spending a lot of money, a lot of technology and technical experts are working together with the government. So in a way, make in India, make for India, make in India and export are all aiming to get manufacturing, a big thing, into India back again. We have lost the momentum on manufacturing in India. The National Manufacturing Policy spoke about it, so that the GDP contribution of manufacturing sector should reach at least 25% of the GDP from where it is today, 13 to 14% of our GDP contribution from manufacturing. So with that emphasis, the Make in India is moving forward. All of us are giving our best for it. These sectors are also interministerially monitored as to what progress, and Skill India is one of the major things through which we hope to achieve this Make in India initiative as a flagship, successful flagship of the government. I'm grateful to Times Group for having given me this opportunity. I hope the day's deliberations will give us some input to work on. Thank you very much.
One thing that you think the government can do and one thing that you think the industry should do to make India a global manufacturing hub?
For the government, I think continue the focus on ease of doing business. From the industry perspective, I think the key issue is investing in technology, in capabilities, in innovation. I think there's a lot that we can do.
My bet is that in 15 years, SMEs in India will have better technology than most big companies.
Mr. Tiwari, one thing that you think the banking system, the financial system can do to help make in India?
The bankers have played a great role in the nation building, and we shall continue to do that, especially to the MSME sector in the times to come.
We need to believe in ourselves, and we need to believe that this government is willing to hear, willing to engage, and therefore we need to keep the engagement on.